Hello loves, welcome and welcome back to my channel. My name is Shayla, also known as Janae Joy on the internet, and we are back with another YouTube video. The fall season is upon us. I'm ready and excited to do some fall reading, but first let's talk about all the books that I read in September. So I actually read 7 books this month, which is a pretty darn good reading month for me. I'm very excited. Gonna go ahead and pat myself on the back. So the very first book that I read in September was The Coworker by Frida McFadden. I gave this one 4 stars and I was very pleasantly surprised by this. The last 2 books I've read by Frida McFadden were actually Never Lie and The Inmate, and they let me down tremendously, not gonna lie. But this one, Miss Frida redeemed herself. I had so much fun reading this one. I enjoyed it so much. So The Coworker is basically about Dawn, this lady that works in the office, and she is trying to befriend the girl that works in the cubicle right next to her, Natalie. One morning, Dawn does not come into work. Natalie thinks it's weird because Dawn is always on time. So basically, she goes and she's trying to figure out what happened to Dawn. And little do we know, she's hiding some secrets of her own. Now, I did not see the twist coming in this book at all. It caught me completely off guard, and I enjoyed every single minute of it. And I honestly, I know I've seen a lot of reviews saying that people don't, but I really enjoyed the turtle aspect of it. It was something, I don't want to say weird, but it was something unique that you don't see a lot in books, and so I appreciated that from her. The next book that I read in September is We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. Now, not gonna lie, this one was rough to get through. I gave it 3 stars though. However, for the first like 80% of the book, I thought that I was gonna DNF it. What was weird with that one is I didn't really want to read it. It was not intriguing me, but I also didn't want to start another book because there's so many characters, so much going on in this book. I felt like if I started another book, I was gonna forget everything that I was reading in We Were Liars. So I was in this weird debacle. But eventually I just stuck it out, read it, and I'm glad I did. The ending had my mouth on the floor. Shocked. Did not expect it. Just, wow. I can see the hype, I suppose. Because a 3 might be a little bit of a generous rating. But when I tell you I really was staring at the wall after I finished this book, I had to give it at least a little bit of decent something. The ending, though, for me, made every single thing that was confusing at the beginning and the middle of the book, it made all of those things make sense once you find out what happens at the end. And so, I don't know, I really loved it. Real big, unreliable narrator trope, and I actually love that trope. I'm starting to love it a lot more lately. But basically, this book follows the 4 liars, Katie, Gat, Johnny, and Murin. Spend every summer on Beechwood Island, which is like the family island of the Eastman Sinclairs, and you basically just kind of follow these teenagers' summers through the island and just kind of their journey. And that's what the big thing for the whole book is. I was like, what is even the point of this? But there's a point. It's not bad. Read it if you want. If you don't like it, don't blame me. So the next book that I listened to was, I don't like saying that title, I'm so sorry, but I gotta give Jeanette McCurdy her flowers because I bawled listening to this book. And I also will add, I think listening to this rather than reading it just elevated the experience so much more, because I know Jeanette McCurdy's voice. I know her from like iCarly, Sam and Cat, and so her voice is very iconic to me. So hearing her tell her story about the things that she went through on Disney, it was very heartbreaking for me. This story is very heavy. There's a lot of mentions of eating disorders, bulimia, anorexia, child abuse, sexual abuse. It's a very, very heavy story. And like I said, I just bawled because it was so surreal to me. Seeing the point of view of an actor that I grew up with. I grew up seeing her on television and knowing how traumatic her story really was. It just was heartbreaking to me. But it was a very, very good read. I definitely recommend that you guys listen to it, read it, anything. And I usually don't give ratings to memoirs, which let me not say that like I've just read a whole bunch of memoirs. This is actually my first memoir I've ever read. But I don't think that I'm gonna be giving memoirs ratings because I just think it's not fair to give a rating on somebody's life story. Ooh, so the next book, y'all, I read The Dead Romantics by Ashley Potson, and ooh, might have a new favorite author coming up. Her writing in this book is immaculate to me. I loved it. The quotes were everything. The love was everything. I loved it so much. I just loved every single minute of it. And it's another one of those books that I may have to go out and buy because I had it as a library book. And I really wish I could have annotated it. It was that good. I gave this book a 4.25. Why I didn't end up giving it a 4.5 or 5 stars, at some point it did get a little boring to me. And I think the main reason why I didn't end up giving it a 4.5 or a 5 is because you wait the whole entire book to finally get some type of like spicy scene. And it just really fell flat for me. I honestly ended up skimming through the pages. I just skimmed right over the spice. And I usually love me a nice spicy scene. But overall, I love the book and I cannot wait to read more by her. And I honestly did really love how unorthodox the romance was in the book. It's not something that you see a lot. It was very unique and I really enjoyed it. The Dead Romantics is basically about Florence and Benji. Florence is a romance ghostwriter, but she has recently gotten out of a bad relationship, and so she just kind of now believes that love is dead, love isn't real. And she goes and she meets with her editor, and she's trying to ask him like, can I please like write something different? I really don't want to write a romance. And he's like, no, you have to write a romance. Like, this writer that you write for only writes romances. You can't switch it up now. Florence ends up getting some personal news and she ends up having to go home. Only thing is, when she's home, she runs into Benji as a ghost. So you're kind of running through that, the whole story. You're kind of diving through why this has happened, what's happening, what's going on, and you just kind of spend the whole book figuring that out with them, alongside with them, and I just loved every single minute of it. Now, the next book I ended up reading was actually another Frida book. I read War D by Frida McFadden. This one I gave a 3.75, and I did actually enjoy this one quite well too. My main complaint with War D though is how repetitive she is in her writing. Just certain little details that she just repeats over and over and over and over. How the boyfriend studies all the time, how she knows so-and-so. I'm trying not to spoil it, but it's like in the epilogue how she keeps talking about a chai tea latte, which, by the way, you don't need to say chai and tea in the same sentence. It's very redundant. Anyways, I don't know, that really bothered me. It just almost took away from the story a little bit to me. But I will say, even though that it was a closed door thriller, I somehow didn't guess it. I was completely oblivious to what was going to go on until it was introduced to us, and I was like, how did I miss that? She did a real good job. So basically, Ward D is about Amy, this medical student, and she has to face her fears about working this overnight shift on the psychiatric unit Ward D. And so you follow Amy on her, like, through every single hour of her 12-hour overnight shift, and you see what happens at the end. Now, the next book that I read in September, I actually finally started the Natural series by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I am so excited to be diving into this world. I gave the first book of the series a 3.75. I definitely was feeling all of the Criminal Minds vibes. However, I didn't really care for the love triangle, and I did feel like things were kind of a little bit slow toward the beginning of this book, but I can definitely see why this series is so hyped and why it's such a good series. I can feel that from the first book. Like, I feel like there's so many things that are going to get answered between the next 3 books and the novella, so I'm very excited to read it and continue on with the series. The twist also kind of seemed a little bit outlandish to me. I almost wanted to like go back and reread it to see if I could have saw it coming at all. It just kind of came out of left field to me. I was very shocked. But even just like little elements of this are already making me want to binge Criminal Minds, so that might be on my to-do list. But basically, The Naturals is about Cassandra, or Cassie. She has this natural ability. She's very good at profiling people, and she ends up getting recruited to work in Quantico, Virginia, in this FBI program that is called The Naturals, with other naturally gifted kids. So there's Cassie, Michael, Dean, Leah, and Sloan are all the 5 naturals. They're all working together for the FBI in order to solve cold cases. So the last and final book that I read in September is Sometimes I Lie by Alice Feeney. Now, I did not realize that this is actually her debut novel. Reading it and knowing that makes me so excited to dive into more of Alice Feeney's writing. I did actually only end up giving this one a 3-star. I just was very confused at the end. It's like, thought you knew what was happening, and there was just a complete other twist. I don't know. I feel like there's so many things that were left unsaid, and I really feel like there should be a second book. But this book came out in like 2018, so I don't think that's gonna happen. But basically, Sometimes I Lie is about Amber. She wakes up in a coma. She doesn't know how she got in a coma, why she's in the coma, who put her in a coma. She can't see, she can't move. All she can do is hear everything around her, and she knows that some strange man keeps coming to visit her in her room. So she basically spends the whole book trying to figure out what happened to her, and you definitely find out, but you end the book with more questions than you started with. So only have 3 to show. But these are all the books that I've read in September. Now let's move on to my October TBR. Okay, I have 8 books on my October TBR, but like I said, I'm really excited for like the fall vibes, the spooky vibes, and I also am going to be recovering from ACL surgery for majority of the month of October. So I honestly may even get through more than just these 8 books, but this is the goal for right now. My very first book, which I've actually had this one on my bookshelf for a little while now. The main reason why I'm adding it to my TBR for October is because I'm really enjoying the unreliable narrator trope. And I've heard that this one has an unreliable narrator trope. So if you've read this book and it does, please let me know down below. But my first book on my October TBR is Bunny by Mona Awad. Not really much to say about it. That's the thing. I don't really know much about a lot of these books. I think this is like a dark academia. I don't know much about it. Dark academia. Unreliable narrator. Excited to read this one though. And then next, I actually saw, I think Larry talk about this on her TikTok several months ago. I ordered on Amazon that day and I just never looked at it again. But once again, it seems like a good thriller for October, November. So I'm gonna read Don't Let Her Stay by Nicholas Sanders. I've actually ended up, since this has came out, I've actually seen a lot of mixed reviews about this one. People either love it or hate it. I actually have seen a lot of people say they hate it, but it seems like a relatively quick thriller, so I think it'll be something quick and easy to read. I just like the way it looks. It's very, I don't know. It's not very long at all. It's less than 300 pages. And then next, I have a new release that I'm so excited about. I can't believe I found this. I actually found it at an independent bookstore not too far from me, and it was the only copy they had, and I grabbed it up real quick. But I got You Again by Katie Goldbeck. I've heard that this is like kind of like an enemies to lovers, enemies to friends to lovers type of trope. I think this touches on when these people meet like 3 different times throughout their lives, and each time that they meet, they're getting closer and closer. Something along those lines. Yeah, when Ari and Josh first meet, the wrong kind of sparks fly. They hate each other instantly. As friends without benefits, they find comfort in late-night Netflix binges, swiping through each other's online dating profiles, and bickering across boroughs, until one night, the unspoken boundaries of the platonic relationship begin to blur. With sharp observations and sizzling chemistry, You Again explores the dynamics of co-ed friendships and this irresistible romantic comedy of modern love in all its forms. Really excited about this one. I think it'll be a super cute read. And next, I told y'all how excited I was about Ashley Poston. I had to pick this up immediately after I finished The Dead Romantics. I was not about to wait for the library to get it into stock. I had to have it now. And this, I'm literally about to start reading today. I'm so excited. I just feel like everything about this is going to be amazing. I've heard that this is basically this girl moves into, I think it's like her grandma's apartment. And when she's there, some man shows up. But she finds out that the guy is actually like 7 years in the past living in her apartment. I don't really know. But yeah, I've heard so many booktubers giving this such a high rating. And after loving The Dead Romantics as much as I did, I just know that I'm going to thoroughly enjoy this. So the next book that I have on my October TBR is Survive the Night by Riley Sager. Which actually, this book is set in November. So I may wait till next month to read it. But I just feel like this is such an October book. This is such a like spooky vibe, Halloween, haunting, scary book. I feel like I just have to read it in October. This will be my first Riley Sager book ever. I hear a lot of good things about him, so I'm excited to read this one. Another one of those books that takes place just over one day, over one night, and they like count down by the hours. But basically this girl, like, or maybe it's not a girl, Charlie Jordan. Charlie could be a girl or a boy. Oh no, it's her. It says her best friend. So yeah, Charlie needs a ride home. She asks this man on campus to give her a ride home. And I'm guessing that somewhere along the way, she starts to fear her life. I think it's gonna be good, thrilling. I'm excited. I'm ready for the journey. And then next, ooh, I'm so excited to get to this one. It's taking me long enough, but I wanted to wait for the right vibes. Fall time, colder, chilly outside. But I finally want to start Fourth Wing. I know we've all seen Fourth Wing. We've all heard of Fourth Wing. We all we all know Fourth Wing, okay? The second book comes out in November, so I do want to go ahead and for sure get this done in October. But if you don't know about Fourth Wing, I've basically heard it compared to like a Divergent with dragons, like I think it was Divergent with dragons. Either Divergent or Hunger Games, one of the two. I'm really excited to read this one. I think it's gonna be really good. I think I'll have a great time. And no more FOMO for me. We're down to our last two books of our October TBR. Next, another really October spooky vibe-esque. I want to read How to Sell a Haunted House by Grady Hendrix. I've never read a Grady Hendrix book, and I actually have not heard a lot about Grady Hendrix in general. It was one of those I picked up a long time ago, but I knew that it would be a perfect book for this season. Yeah, I have really no clue what this one is about. I haven't seen anyone talk about it at all, to be honest, so hopefully it'll be around the booktube world now since it's like haunted house time. The very last book I have on my October TBR is The Last Word by Taylor Adams. I've heard that this one is basically a book reviewer rates this author's book 1 star and he basically starts harassing her. Yeah. Oh, so she writes a 1-star review about a horror novel of an author that only writes sadistic tales of stalking and murdering. Interesting. So these are all the books that I want to read for the month of October. I'm very excited. This could potentially be a very, very good reading month. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for sitting here watching, listening to me talk about books with you. Let me know what books are on your October TBR, what are on your radar for the fall season, and let me know if you read any of the books that I read in September, what your ratings and opinions are, and then if you've read any of the books on my October TBR, let me know what you thought about them. Again, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe before you head out, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye.